Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to crack open spy secrets that can save your life by former CIA officer Jason Hanson. You, our listener, expressed interest in getting some practical, everyday safety knowledge and really boosting your awareness of what's going on around you. So, this one's for you.
Yeah, this book is absolutely packed with fascinating stuff.
Mm.
Hansen basically takes all his experience, counterintelligence, surveillance, keeping agents safe, and shows how, well, surprisingly useful a lot of it is for regular folks like us.
In our normal lives, yeah.
Exactly. We're talking escaping restraints, picking locks, but also spotting deception, social engineering. He really hammers home that small details can be, life-saving.
Absolutely. And look, our mission today is simple. Pull out the absolute gold, the most critical, the most immediately useful strategies from this treasure trove.
Give you some actionable takeaways.
Right, stuff you can actually use to feel safer, more in control, without, feeling overwhelmed, maybe have a few aha moments.
Oh.
Okay, so the book really kicks off with two things Hansen says are just non-negotiable: noticing baselines and practicing situational awareness.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is he puts these above even physical self-defense training, which makes sense when you think about it.
How so?
Well, if you're completely oblivious, right? If you don't see a threat coming, it doesn't matter how good your karate chop is, you won't have time to use it. Awareness is, it's fundamental.
Okay, got it. So let's break down baselines. When he talks about noticing baselines, what's the core idea there?
It's really about tuning into what's, quote, normal for any given place. Your home, your street, your office, wherever.
Okay.
By understanding the usual rhythm, the typical sounds, sights, the general feel of a place, you get much better at spotting when something's, well, off, out of place.
Like an unusual crowd, or maybe a weird noise.
Exactly. Is it suddenly way too quiet or way too loud? If you don't know what the baseline is, you won't recognize the deviation. And that deviation might be a warning sign.
Right, makes perfect sense. It's like knowing the sound of your own car engine. A new rattle jumps right out at you. Okay, so how does baseline awareness then connect with situational awareness?
Situational awareness is the active part. It's the constant habit of actually paying attention to what's around you. Hansen says, look, understanding baselines is great, but it's kind of useless if you're not actively observing your environment to see those baselines shift.
So you need both.
You need both. And crucially, he stresses this isn't about paranoia. It's not about being constantly tense. It's about a healthy, focused awareness.
Healthy awareness, I like that.
Yeah, it lets you spot potential trouble early and hopefully avoid it altogether. Get off the X, as he calls it. It's not just glancing around. It's actively thinking, does this fit? Is this normal for here right now? If the answer is no, that's your cue to, pay closer attention.
He has some really vivid examples in the book. That story about him and his wife in Baltimore. That one really sticks with me.
Oh, yeah, that's a perfect illustration. He talks about just getting that feeling, something off about a guy walking towards them.
Right.
That gut feeling immediately put him on alert, condition yellow, which we'll get into. And just by doing something simple, asking the guy for the time he disrupted whatever might have been about to happen.
Broke the pattern.
Exactly. And the fact the guy then just changed direction, that kind of confirmed their suspicion, didn't it? Shows how a small action, prompted by just being aware, can buy you critical time.
And it's not just those one-on-one situations, is it? He points to bigger events, too, where noticing something unusual was literally life or death.
Spot on. Think about the Boston Marathon bombing or the Nairobi Mall attack he mentions. Survivors often recount noticing something drastically wrong. A huge bang that clearly wasn't fireworks or wasn't thunder.
Something that broke the baseline.
Precisely. They didn't dismiss it. They registered it, they reacted, and that reaction probably saved them, which is the opposite of normalcy bias.
Ah, normalcy bias. Yeah, explain that a bit.
It's this really common human tendency, isn't it? We want things to be okay. We want to believe things are normal, even when, well, the evidence is screaming otherwise, especially in really stressful or sudden situations.
Like that quote he uses from Penelope about how the mind just doesn't want to consider something awful.
Exactly that. That bias can make us ignore warning signs. It stops us from taking action when we really, really need to.
So knowing your baselines, actively practicing situational awareness, those are our defenses against that bias.
They're key defenses, absolutely. Now, Hansen also brings in the Cooper color codes. Can you break those down? How do they fit in?
Right, the color codes. They're a really handy way to think about different levels of alertness. Condition white. That's basically zoned out, right? Unaware, unprepared.
Totally oblivious. Scrolling on your phone, maybe.
Guilty. Then there's condition yellow. This is the one Hanson really pushes for as our default state.
Yeah, he describes it as a kind of relaxed alert. You're taking things in, you're aware of your surroundings, but you're not expecting an attack. He kind of jokes it's how people used to be before smartphones took over our attention spans.
Hmm, probably true. So yellow isn't tense.
No, not at all. It's more like a background process, just
Yeah.
noticing things, like a low-level antivirus scan running, keeping an eye out.
Okay, I get that. Then you move up to orange.
Condition orange, that's
Yeah.
a specific alert. Something has caught your attention. It feels potentially threatening. Maybe someone's paying way too much attention to you, or you see someone wearing a heavy coat in August. You know,
Something doesn't fit the baseline.
exactly. This is when you start focusing. You prepare to act if you need to, like Hanson reaching for his tactical pen in that Baltimore story. You're thinking, okay, what's happening? What might I need to do?
And the final level.
Condition red. That's when the threat is real, it's happening now, and you're taking immediate action.
Fight or flight kicks in.
Pretty much. But Hanson's point is, if you operate consistently in yellow and you learn to recognize when to shift to orange, you drastically reduce the chances of being thrown straight into red unprepared. Early awareness buys you options.
So stay in yellow, use orange to assess, and hopefully avoid red altogether. That's a really clear framework.
Okay.
Shifting gears a bit. The book moves into practical tools and mindset. Not about becoming Jason Bourne, but just being sort of thoughtfully prepared day to day.
Exactly. He calls it adopting a spy kit mindset. Again, not paranoia, just intentional preparedness, having certain things on you, thinking proactively about safety.
Let's dig into some of these everyday carry items, the EDC stuff he highlights. First one's maybe surprising. Just a basic cell phone, not necessarily a smartphone.
Yeah, he acknowledges smartphones are distracting, right? Take you out of condition yellow. And they have security risks. But he says having a simple phone, just for making calls in an emergency, that basic communication line is crucial.
Makes sense. Then we get into slightly more spy-like things, bobby pins. I wouldn't have thought of those.
Right. Seems kind of random. But he explains how versatile a simple bobby pin can be for escaping certain restraints. He even talks about hiding one, like in your waistband or something. Small, inconspicuous, surprisingly useful.
Okay. Next up, the tactical pen. He's a big believer in this one, isn't he?
Oh, definitely. The big advantage is legality. You can carry it almost anywhere, planes, courthouses, places where knives or guns are a definite no-go. He tells a story about someone getting one through security at Ben Gurion Airport in Israel, which is saying something.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Plus, it looks like a pen, but it's sturdy. It can be a very effective self-defense tool, if needed, without drawing attention.
And then it's lockpick sets. The credit card style ones. That feels very James Bond.
It does, yeah. But the idea is practical. Getting out of a locked room, maybe helping someone else who's locked out or in. And he notes, interestingly, they often sail right through TSA. Apparently about 90% of the time, he says. But, and this is a big but, he stresses you have to check your local laws. Owning or carrying lockpicks can be illegal in some places unless you're a licensed locksmith. So do your homework on that one.
Good advice. He also mentions credit card knives and multi-tools, like a Leatherman. Those seem pretty straightforward.
Yeah, the credit card knife is a super discreet, last-ditch defense option, folds right up. And a multi-tool, well, that's just useful for tons of everyday things, right? Minor fixes, opening stuff, always handy to have.
Definitely. And for drivers, he talks vehicle preparedness, starting with something called an auto jiggler. Never heard of that.
It's a bit more specialized. It's basically a set of keys designed to work on the locks and ignitions of older cars, he says, generally pre-1999 models. The idea is in a real emergency, if you absolutely had to get into or start an older car, these might work. Niche, but potentially useful in extreme situations.
Okay. And then the absolute must-have for any car, a 72-hour kit.
Non-negotiable, he says. Car accident in the middle of nowhere, breakdown in a blizzard, getting stranded. Having a small bag with 3 days of essentials can literally save your life.
What should be in it?
He recommends basics like at least 6 high-energy waterproof food bars, 6 boxes of emergency drinking water like Aqua Blocks, and at least 10 water purification tablets. Simple stuff, easy to pack, but makes a massive difference if you're stuck.
Yeah, that seems like a no-brainer. Okay, let's shift to home security. The book has some really good practical tactics here. I like the idea of casing your own house.
That's a brilliant one. Think like a burglar. Walk around your property day and night. Where are the dark spots? Where could someone hide? Is that overgrown bush right next to the window providing perfect cover?
Looking for vulnerabilities you'd normally ignore.
Exactly. And pay attention to the garage, keep the door shut, block the view inside if you can.
Mm.
Never, ever leave the opener in your car parked outside, and maybe even padlock the door track from the inside if you're away for a while. Simple, but effective. And his advice on answering the door: don't just swing it open, but don't ignore knocks either.
Right, it's a nuance. Some burglars knock first to see if anyone's home. If you open up carelessly, you give them an opportunity. But if you ignore it completely, they might assume the house is empty. So acknowledge them through the door, use a peephole, maybe call out, let them know someone's there, but stay secure.
And invest in better locks, he says, like Schlage or Medeco, not the standard ones.
Yeah, he points out that the basic quick-set locks on many homes are surprisingly easy for someone with a little know-how to bypass. A sturdier lock is a worthwhile investment.
For people in more isolated spots, he suggests a driveway alarm. And that crucial advice: if you come home and see a strange car in your driveway, don't go in. Call the police.
Absolutely critical. Don't confront them yourself. He also likes motion-activated floodlights as a deterrent. Makes the place less appealing to sneak around.
And window security. Keep them locked, obviously. Use blinds or curtains at night so people can't see in easily. He even suggests putting down some noisy gravel or stones beneath ground floor windows creates an alert if someone steps there. He tells a really harrowing story about a kidnapping through an open window that just drives home how vital basic window security is.
Chilling. And then he outlines a basic home defense plan. What are the key elements?
Keep it simple and rehearsed. Have a flashlight handy. Have some means of defense readily accessible. Could be a firearm if you're trained and comfortable, but also a knife, a baseball bat. And decide beforehand who calls 911 immediately.
Split responsibilities.
Right. He describes his own nightstand setup: a small, bolted-down gun safe with a loaded handgun, light laser combo, spare magazine, a dedicated prepaid burner phone just for emergencies, and extra flashlights. And store other valuables securely too, bolted down, not obvious.
Makes sense. Okay, moving outside the home now. Travel safety. Let's start with flying. It's safe, statistically, but he still has tips.
Yeah, main thing is just stay aware on the plane. Know where your nearest exits are. Count the rows so you could find them even in smoke or darkness. And that core principle: don't freeze, move, react quickly in an emergency. He tells a story about a journalist escaping a burning plane by just reacting, not freezing up.
Important reminder. What about taxis, especially in foreign cities?
Know your route beforehand if you can. Research common local scams. He mentions fake money in Buenos Aires, thefts by guys on motorbikes in the Dominican Republic. Use reputable taxi companies. Best bet often is asking your hotel to call one for you.
Good tips. And for hotels themselves.
He suggests floors 3 through 6 are often a good bet. High enough to deter easy break-ins from the ground, but low enough for fire ladders to reach. Avoid rooms near stairwells as they offer easy escape routes for criminals. Be aware in elevators. And if you ever feel like you're being followed back to your room, don't go in. Go back to the lobby, get help.
And don't assume nice resorts are immune to problems.
Yeah. Exactly. He cautions that even in fancy places in the Caribbean or Mexico, you still need to be aware of potential risks. Don't let the nice scenery lull you into condition white.
Right. Now let's talk counter-surveillance. Sounds very cloak and dagger, but why might an ordinary person need to worry about being followed?
Well, Hanson points out it's not just spies who get surveilled. It could be related to a messy divorce, a lawsuit, a business rivalry. Maybe someone thinks you're wealthy and is casing you for a robbery. Or it could even be something random, like a road rage incident that escalates.
Okay, so it happens. What are some basic things we can do?
Number 1, again, is situational awareness. Condition yellow. Actively notice people and cars around you. Is that same car behind you after several turns? Did you see that same person in 3 different stores? Like the example he gives of Hannah noticing the same guy weirdly hanging out in the handbag section.
That gut feeling again.
Right. Don't look like an easy target. Walk tall. Look aware. If you do suspect you're being followed, don't leave them home. Stay public. Go to a police station, a busy store.
What about confronting them?
He suggests some basic tactics. Making eye contact, just acknowledging you see them, abruptly stopping and turning to look back. Maybe even, if you feel it's safe, directly asking them, "Can I help you?" Make it obvious you're onto them. He even shares a personal story about using these skills when he thought his girlfriend's mob-connected dad might be watching him.
Wow, okay. That definitely brings it home. These aren't just abstract ideas. All right, next big topic. recognizing and avoiding deception, a skill we probably all could use more of.
For sure. And Hansen starts with how even CIA officers get targeted by social engineering. He gives an example of a woman in a bar telling this wild, overly dramatic story, huge red flag, right? It wasn't normal behavior.
Didn't fit the baseline.
Exactly. Then you get into cognitive biases, these mental shortcuts our brains take that can make us vulnerable to manipulation.
Like what? Give us a couple of examples.
Well, there's the decoy effect. That's where adding a third, maybe slightly worse option makes one of the original two seem much better by comparison. Then there's optimism bias. We tend to think bad things are less likely to happen to us.
So we don't prepare enough.
Right, like not saving for retirement or skipping that checkup. And recency bias, thinking whatever just happened will keep happening. Like if there hasn't been a hurricane in your area for years, you might ignore the next warning.
I can see how those play out. How do scammers use these biases?
He talks about things like Good Samaritan scams, faking an injury, or dropping groceries to get you to lower your guard and help, making you vulnerable. Or distraction scams, one person creates a commotion while another picks your pocket, or worse.
So how do we avoid those?
Be cautious about rushing in to help strangers in odd circumstances. Observe from a distance first, maybe. Keep space. Look around you, especially behind you. Ask questions someone genuinely needing help will usually give straightforward answers.
He also flips it around briefly, mentioning using social engineering principles positively, like quid pro quo.
Yeah, quid pro quo. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Basic reciprocity. And acting like you belong, just projecting confidence, can often get you past gatekeepers or make people assume you have a right to be somewhere. Useful for legitimate purposes, too, sometimes.
Interesting. And then, the big one, detecting lies. He says it all starts with establishing a baseline.
Absolutely fundamental. You have to know how someone acts when they're telling the truth before you can spot signs of deception. Watch their normal breathing, listen to their voice tone, notice their typical gestures when answering easy, non-stressful questions.
Make them comfortable first.
Right. Get an accurate baseline of their normal. Then, when you ask the tougher questions, you look for changes from that baseline. Clusters of changes, usually maybe shifting posture, avoiding eye contact when they didn't before, voice pitch changing, fidgeting more. It's about the deviation.
Look for clusters, not just one thing. Got it. Okay, the book also gets into some more extreme, maybe less common scenarios, escape and self-defense. Let's touch on disappearing.
Yeah, he makes it very clear this is incredibly hard nowadays. Digital footprints, cameras everywhere. But he outlines the theoretical process. Leaving your old life, spreading false information about where you went, and building a totally new identity somewhere else.
Sounds tough.
Extremely. He warns strongly against trying to get fake government ID, says they're almost always scams or easily detectable. He talks about skip tracers and how they find people using pretexts, tricking contacts, and how crucial it is to really research and blend into your new location convincingly. It's a massive undertaking.
Definitely sounds like a last resort.
Yeah.
More immediately relevant for many people.
Yeah.
Carjacking.
Yeah.
Prevention and response.
Yeah, crucial stuff.
Yeah.
He reminds us it can happen outside or inside the car, citing that awful Dustin Friedland case where he was shot after getting in. So prevention starts before you even get to the car.
Yeah.
Be aware, park smart in well-lit areas, have keys ready.
And while driving.
Leave space that lights enough room so you can see the tires of the car ahead touching the pavement. That gives you room to maneuver out if needed. Hands at 9 and 3 on the wheel for best control. And be super wary if someone tries to flag you down for a supposed car problem if nothing seems wrong. Don't pull over for them. Call 911 if you're concerned. Drive to a safe place.
Good advice. He also briefly mentions evasive driving.
Yeah, things like a reverse 180, ramming another car if absolutely necessary to escape. Definitely advanced techniques, but part of the overall awareness picture.
Okay. And then basic self-defense principles. His main mantra seems to be don't freeze, move.
That's the core. And the number one goal is always escape. Get away to safety. Self-defense isn't about winning the fight. It's about creating an opportunity to get away.
What about specific techniques?
He covers a few simple high-percentage moves for common attacks, like breaking a bear hug by hacking the fingers or hooking a leg if they lift you. If someone grabs your hair from the front, go for vulnerable targets. Eyes, throat, groin, shins, ETGS.
ETGS, easy to remember.
Yeah. Defending punches, using your arms to block and crash into the attack to disrupt it, create an opening. He also emphasizes footwork, getting off the X, the direct line of attack. Using angles to make yourself harder to hit and create escape routes. Simple steps, forward and sideways, into what he calls a forward triangle.
And staying physically ready helps too, he says.
Definitely. Being reasonably fit, maybe doing some sprints, just improves your ability to react quickly and explosively and to run if you need to.
Wow. Okay, that's a really thorough run-through of the key insights from Spy Secrets that can save your life. It's certainly given me a lot to think about regarding my own awareness and preparedness.
Absolutely. We've touched on, the power of baselines and situational awareness, that foundation. We looked at practical tools and the right mindset, getting prepared without getting paranoid. We talked about spotting deception, understanding biases and scams. And finally, those core principles of escape and self-defense, all from a former CIA officer's perspective.
So, for you listening, we really hope this deep dive has given you some solid, actionable ideas. Ways to boost your awareness, feel a bit safer, whether you're just walking down the street, traveling, or at home. And remember, the point isn't to live in fear. It's about cultivating a mindset that's, well, proactive, observant, and prepared.
Yeah, which kind of leads to a final thought, maybe something for you to mull over. Which one of these spy secrets feels like something you could actually start doing? Maybe tomorrow. Could you consciously try to establish a baseline for your commute? Or deliberately practice condition yellow next time you're in a crowd?
What small detail, maybe something you usually ignore, might be trying to tell you something important about your surroundings? Think about that. This is really just the beginning, isn't it? Starting to see the world and your place in it just a little bit differently.